History is full of mysteries. Few are as haunting as the fall of Anne Boleyn. This is the story of the queen who rose from nothing, defied a king, changed England, and died beneath the sword in one of history's most shocking endings. Why was she killed? Who profited from her death? And what if she had lived? Would England look the same? Stay until the end, because what happened next changed the destiny of the Tudors forever. In the early 1520s, Anne Boleyn was no queen. She was a clever, sharp-tongued young woman returning from the French court, magnetic, ambitious, and bold enough to say no to a king. Henry VIII had never met a woman like her. Anne refused to be just a mistress. She demanded marriage and a crown, or nothing. That demand would soon shake all of Europe. But Henry already had a wife, Catherine of Aragon. For nearly 20 years they tried for a son and failed. Only Mary survived, and Henry's desperation for an heir grew darker every year. Henry's passion turned to obsession. For 7 years he begged the Pope, argued with Rome, and finally broke away, naming himself head of the Church of England and changing history forever. In June 1533, Anne was crowned queen in Westminster Abbey. Golden banners waved, trumpets sounded, but many in the crowd whispered she was not a true queen. In September that year, Anne gave birth. The court held its breath, praying for a prince. Instead came a daughter, Elizabeth. Henry smiled, but disappointment flickered in his eyes. Anne promised a son would follow. But in January 1536, she miscarried. A boy. The court whispered she was cursed. Henry's heart grew colder with every passing day. Soon, Henry noticed Jane Seymour. Quiet, gentle, obedient. Everything Anne was not. Jane became his new obsession, and Anne's enemies saw their chance. Anne quarreled with Henry, accusing him of betrayal. Henry accused her of bewitching him into marriage. Their love turned to open war in the royal chambers. Thomas Cromwell, Henry's minister, saw his moment. He began gathering evidence, or inventing it, to destroy the queen and secure his power. Anne was accused of adultery with 5 men, including her own brother George Boleyn. The charges were scandalous: treason, incest, plotting to kill the king. Anne was arrested and taken to the Tower of London, the very place where she had once celebrated her coronation feast 3 years before. In the Tower, Anne stayed in the same royal rooms she once used as queen. She prayed, wrote letters, and swore she was innocent. Her trial was a spectacle. Nobles and commoners packed the hall. Anne defended herself with courage and intelligence that even her enemies admired. But the verdict was decided long before the trial began. Anne was found guilty of treason and sentenced to death. May 19, 1536. Anne dressed in dark gown and walked to the scaffold with surprising calm. She gave a short speech, careful not to blame Henry, and then knelt to pray softly as the executioner prepared his sword. With a single stroke, the sword fell. Anne Boleyn was dead. Her ladies wept quietly as her body was carried to the chapel. But her death was more than the fall of a queen. It was a warning. No one, not even a crowned queen, could stand against the will of the king. England trembled at the message. Thomas Cromwell had removed his rival and secured his own power, for now. But the wheel of fate kept turning, and one day, he too would face the executioner's axe. Henry wasted no time. Just 10 days later, he married Jane Seymour, the quiet lady who had waited patiently. She would give him what Anne could not, a son. In October 1537, Jane gave birth to Edward. Bells rang across London. Henry wept with joy. His dynasty seemed secure at last. But happiness was brief. Jane died just 12 days later. Henry mourned deeply and called her his only true queen. Anne's daughter Elizabeth was declared illegitimate after her mother's death. Her titles were stripped, her household dismissed, her future uncertain. Yet Elizabeth grew into a brilliant, cautious young woman. She learned to hide her thoughts, measure her words, and survive in a court that had killed her mother. When Mary Tudor became queen, Elizabeth was seen as a threat. She was arrested and taken to the Tower, just as her mother had been years before. Elizabeth feared she would meet the same fate. She carved prayers into the walls and waited for the axe. But Mary spared her. Barely. In 1558, Mary died childless. At Hatfield, Elizabeth received the news under a great oak tree. She whispered, "This is the Lord's doing." Elizabeth was crowned queen. The girl once called a bastard now wore the crown of England. Her mother's bloodline had triumphed at last. Under Elizabeth's rule, England entered a golden age. Arts flourished, the navy grew, and the kingdom's power stretched across the seas. But imagine if Anne had lived. Imagine if she had given Henry a son. Would Elizabeth have ever worn the crown? Would England's faith have stayed Catholic? Would there have been no Elizabethan age, no Shakespeare, no great navy to face the Spanish Armada? History turns on fragile moments. The death of one woman shifted the religion, politics, and destiny of a nation for centuries to come. Anne's fall was tragic, but it made possible the rise of Elizabeth, the Virgin Queen who ruled longer than any Tudor and made England a world power. If Anne had lived, history might have looked very different. No Armada, no Golden Age, perhaps no empire at all. Anne Boleyn's story is not just about love or betrayal. It is about power, faith, destiny, and how one woman's courage changed the world forever. From the scaffold of the Tower to the glory of the Elizabethan court, her bloodline left a mark that no sword could erase. So next time you hear her name, remember, Anne Boleyn was not just a tragic queen. She was the spark that lit the fire which transformed a kingdom forever.